video, I want to take you through the first few weeks of June 2022 and the astrology and what the energy is coming up for us all and how this might support you as a parent or as a caregiver with your children. What might you expect in a way that relates to them? My name is Christy Whistler. I am an evolutionary astrologer, an intuitive, a channel, and I'm also the parent of 2 magical multi-dimensional kids. And I love using astrology to help be my guide, to give me this awareness and this heads up for what I can expect from my kids, the reactions that they might be having, the intense emotions, and it really helps to just guide me through those moments that can be a little bit more challenging. I don't feel quite so getting tossed about by the tides. Instead, I'm just easier able to ride those waves of intensity by knowing what's happening and by really looking at that with the lens of my children in mind. So if you're interested in just how this might affect us as adults and more of our grander, brighter, broader world scheme, I actually did a live video and had a conversation with several other individuals about that. So I will link that for you in the video, so check that out if you're interested for you. And with that, let's get going into the energy for our children and what you might expect in them, or just to kind of prepare you. Again, like, this is a heads up. This is what may be coming, and what can you do to meet those moments with a little bit more ease and grace. So I'm following in my notes here. So on June 3rd, we had Mercury, which was retrograde, station direct. And as it did this, it actually was square to Saturn, conjunct the North Node in Uranus. And I know that's a lot, so you don't really need to worry about all the details. We're focusing here on the energy. And so we have to really look at, like, what is the planet of Mercury, okay? It's about communication, new ways of thinking, new ways of sharing ideas. It's really the intellect, the mind. And as we have come out of this retrograde, we're gonna have clarity around this. New ways that we could be communicating with our kids, new ways our kids might be communicating with us, new ways that they might be thinking and just being in the world, all right? And when we have that conjunction with the North Node and also Uranus, this is really like a clarity of the future, all right? Bringing in new ideas, and if you have very sensitive children, they might actually be tapping into the future themselves and bringing those ideas back here to share with you. Some of our children, especially where their Uranus placement is, like, they are that gifted, where they get these sudden downloads and glimpses like a lightning bolt from the future that they can bring back to us and share with us. So it's this the North Node is the new direction. This is where our collective humanity is wanting us to go into, this direction of Taurus, slowness, new ways and new ways of doing everything, our pace, things that we like, the things that we value. So real coming out of this reflective period, and now we're getting clarity on what that could mean with this Mercury energy. And it's not just Mercury in this mix, okay? Like I said, we have that square to Saturn. Saturn, and you're going to hear me talk about Saturn a lot, and I actually talked a lot about this in the last video as well, so there would be some resonance themes that I'm just re-sharing and speaking of, because they will, these energies will be with us for the next year. So it's really good to start putting that into your conscious awareness and hearing it more than once. So the Saturn energy is expectations, obligations, it's our society, our systems, and our structures. All right, that's what Saturn is. Saturn is the building of these structures and making them a reality in our world. Okay, it's not just dreaming things, it's building it. It's like physically creating it and making it happen. Now, with that square to Saturn, this is really asking us to think, what are new ways that we could be in relation with our kids in the world? Are there new ways our society can view children? I certainly have quite a few opinions about that, and I would say yes is my answer. But it's for you to reflect on. Are there new ways that we could be thinking of our children? New ways that we can be valuing them and who they are in our society, in our structures and systems. Maybe you have one of those kids who doesn't really fit in any boxes. They're like, nope, no boxes are for me. In fact, I'm going to kick that box straight out the window and off the balcony. Do you have any kids like that? Because I do. But again, it's like, is our world offering spaces for those kind of kids who don't fit in the boxes? No, not really. So, okay, like what can we do instead? Let's think of new ways that this can be possible for them to have their space, to be who they are, to have their own intellectual understandings and ways of being in this world. That's a lot of the energy that you could be feeling, as an example. So another really good one is with this, there's a lot of Taurus energy. So Taurus is very highlighted right now. And Taurus, besides being about resources and money, Taurus is also about what we value. What do you value? We've been going through this very reflective period that started at the beginning of this year when we had Venus retrograde. What do you actually value? Not just the things that you thought you valued, that you really value, you really care about and care for. And is that value reflected in our world? And so, like, what can this energy mean for you and your kids? You know, this, what do you value? What do you actually value? Not what society has conditioned you to believe. Society, your early childhood, so your parents, how you were raised, your education, the teachers you might have had. So we're not talking about what they taught us about value. We're talking about your deep soul wisdom of what value is. We're talking about what you feel deep down in your gut. That's that Aries and Mars energy. That's going to be very highlighted for this next year because we actually have Jupiter in Aries. So the body, desires, that's on the menu. All right, so just be aware, parents. This is going to be a thing, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But what I wanted to reflect for you was a blog I had written several years ago based on a podcast I'd heard called On Being with Krista Tippett. And she interviewed these two professionals who had done this research about happiness. What they thought, or I should say what these young adults who were in college thought happiness was, compared to the same question they asked of the parents. What did they see for happiness for their children? It's been a few years, so I'm getting those details a little fuzzy, but I will link to that below if you're interested. But what struck me was that these young adults said happiness means success. Happiness means I have the good job that's paying the bills, able to afford rent in my car. That happiness equaled success. And yet, when this question was asked of the parents, for them, happiness meant having good friendships, good relationships, being joyful. So there's this real disconnect that's been happening by what our society is teaching us constantly, all the time, unconsciously, subconsciously, about happiness, compared to this deeper desire that we as parents actually have for our children. I mean, sure, we want them to be taken care of, to be able to survive in this world. I'd actually like them to be able to thrive. And that goes far beyond money, far beyond the amazing paying job. It's being able to walk through life at peace and centered, happy, following your joy, being able to do that. To me, that's what happiness is. And so it's this opportunity for us to really reflect, especially as we have Saturn is now retrograde as of June 5th. This is a period of reflection. What in our society, these structures and systems aren't actually reflecting what we want and what we truly deeply value, deep in our bodies, deep in our souls. And the invitation becomes, so how can we change that? How can we really bring in this new future? Because that's the direction we're going in, right? We've got that North Node in Uranus. This is really about the future. This is this crumbling of the old to build the new. So as station's going retrograde through your life and your children's, be very aware, be conscious of where this societal deconditioning is showing up for you. And I say that specifically because our children learn from us. I mean, not so much from our words, but from our actions, from our energy, for how we show up in the world. We may not need to tell them that we're upset about something for them to know that we're upset. And they are learning these patterns and these beliefs, these limiting beliefs, okay? That's Saturn, these limiting beliefs of society and structures. They're energetically and unconsciously learning that from us. So really pay attention. See what is cycling up for you, coming up to the surface for you to see. Because when you do that deconditioning work, when you find, oh, I have these expectations about what success is or happiness is, you are unconsciously passing that on to your kids. And so the medicine, the wisdom of this moment is to make the unconscious conscious. And when you see it and you sit with it, you see these limiting beliefs for what they are, and you just go, gosh, where did this come from? Do I really believe this? And just follow the questions, follow the feelings, the emotions. Let them be whatever they are for you. We don't sweep these things under the rug. That is not on the menu. We have Pluto retrograde as well, going through the last bits of Capricorn. This is the time to look at all that gunk that's under the rug and shine a light there. And when you do this work, and when you, in your own shadow work, your own inner life, shine these lights, you heal. And then through you healing, you're also healing for your children, as well as healing into your past generations, because this stuff isn't just coming up from you. It's not just you and your story. It's been passed to you from your parents and your grandparents, from the collective, all right? This is all in the mix, all coming up to be seen right now. So again, when you do this, you're going to heal for your children. So that when they're your age, they're not having to go through the exact same deconditioning. they'll have their own set for sure. I mean, we're humans, we are imperfect beings, so we're not going to get this parenting gig right. But you can do a lot of that big, heavy lifting weight for them by willing to see what the Saturn retrograde energy is bringing for you at this time, and really into October 22nd is when it will station direct again. So we're going to be in this for a while, so really have that awareness. What is coming up for you that you need to decondition, that you need to say, you know what, I don't believe this shit. This is not for me anymore. I don't agree with it. I'm done. And building something new with that, because that's the really great fun work of Saturn. Is it may not be easy, it may not be fun going through this, but by doing that work, conscious effort, that's Saturn, you will come into your own capabilities, your own abilities. Like, you will be giving yourself the recognition, not coming from outside. This is coming from inside you. And you doing the conscious work means whatever you're healing, whatever you're creating and really building right now, it's going to last. That's the medicine of Saturn. That's the treasure that Saturn is really bringing us. It's going to be great once we get to the other side of this energy. And also just tuning in, as I just checked my notes, to this Taurus energy, just know that it might be really highlighted right now for your children, especially if they're very sensitive. They might be very heightened five senses right now. They might be very emotional. I'm doing a lot of energy exchange. They could be feeling a lot of energy from the collective right now. It's been intense. It's gonna get even more intense as we go into fall, as Saturn and Uranus are going into a tighter square together, which is gonna be that old versus the new, control versus freedom are some of the themes of these two energies, right? Saturn, it says you wanna make that new future, you gotta earn it. You gotta break through all the things that aren't working. That's Saturn, that's Pluto there. They're all working together, and your kids might be very sensitive to this and really feeling this. So if that's true for you, I would highly recommend that Taurus wisdom of slowness, nature, going outside for long walks, baths. Baths would be great. Salt baths, even better. But just slowing down, getting into the things that are really comfortable for them, that will help them process and move through some of this very intense Scorpio energy that's coming up to the surface for us to see, okay? Scorpio wants to shine a light in the dark. Doesn't look pretty in the dark sometimes. So those are some tips that you can use to help your kids through that if they're really feeling it right now. And I'm just going to give you another example of how this restructuring can look like and be coming up for you. In my life, I am the mother and caregiver of two kids, both of them with special abilities, but Eric is even more so. And I've been really sitting with and reflecting how my work in this world, that space that I need to really hold for him, it's very invisible. It's not valued in our society. And that's really hard because it is such an intense space that I need to hold for him. Just a quick example is going to Park Day with our homeschool group. Is great, and at the same time there's a lot of kids that are there. This happened right after not long after the shooting that took place in Texas, and all the children and teachers as well who were killed. So there's a lot of energy that's in the playground with these children, many of whom actually go to school. So it was very potent energy, and I could feel it in Eric, how he was really spiraling with it and was having a harder time settling and containing himself. He's 7 years old as I'm recording this video, and he's still learning social boundaries and social communication. That actually makes sense because he didn't start talking until he was 5. And he has his own very unique way of communicating. So it's very challenging sometimes because he is older to hold that space for him to be who he is, and to also have boundaries of how we treat other people. Okay, we don't just run around hitting people with a lightsaber, for example, you know, and doing that in a way that is calm, that is not reactionary, doesn't just come out with spanking, for example. That could be some of your own childhood experiences when you were little. So it's like I'm deconditioning my own training, my own upbringing, and also holding a boundary while being a very sensitive, energetic person myself. It can get very, very overwhelming and very exhausting. And, you know, I came home from the park, I walked in, and Sean asked me what was wrong. And I said, it was really hard. And I caught myself after I really was able to process what happened later. I need to not just say it was hard. If I want people to start seeing my value and the work that I'm doing, I need to actually speak it. So I'm giving you this example of my deconditioning and my reclaiming of my power and my sovereignty, which is Taurus, all right? So it's very, very highlighted, very up right now. And how to make the invisible visible is speaking it. You know, these people in my life love Eric, and they want to hear that he's socializing and he's starting to really engage with other kids. But they need to know what that actually means so they can see me and see what I'm actually doing. Because the thing is nobody else wants to hold that space for him. They don't want to do that work. They just want to hear about he's socializing. So it's like, no. You need to see. You need to know the value of what being a mother and a caregiver of a special needs child is actually like. So if you happen to be a parent of one of these magically gifted kids, I would love for you, if you feel comfortable, to share what is that like for you, and just start speaking it. I mean, I would love if you share it in the comments, but you don't have to. Just start with the people who you feel safe with and like give them the truth, or not even just the truth, but the more fuller version of what your life is like. And let's, especially as caregivers, as people in female bodies, this feminine energy, let's start speaking and giving value and weight to what emotional labor is, because it's important. And for too long in this world, it's invisible and it's not important. So this is me sharing that with you. Let's make it real. Let's put some words and some oomph behind what it is that we are doing by holding that space and doing so in a loving way with our children. So that's a little bit of my Saturn retrograde that was reflected to me like the day Saturn or a few days before. I'm usually a couple days before with these energies. So one of the ways that you can really support your kids in this time, we've got, as I said, we have Jupiter's going through Aries. There's going to be a lot of freedom on the menu, okay? Freedom, autonomy, independence. I talked about that in the last video. That's still here. That's still going to be very up for your children at this time, especially as we get into this full moon on June 14th in Sagittarius. So a lot of freedom, a lot of need for open roads is happening. I would invite you to really tune into your kids, listen to their body, how they're reacting to you, reacting to the world around them. They may not use words. They can, again, like look at their body, look at their energy. What are they doing? And have that be your guide. And as well for yourself, Aries is the body. Aries is instincts. So how are you instinctually reacting in your body? And let that be your compass for where you need to go and shine that light that we've been talking so much about. As I said as well, the sensitivity of the 5 senses could be very heightened. So if you have that child who is sensitive, this might even be more explosive for them, okay? What I mean by that is, like, you could have a kid who is sensitive to sound. So 20 kids in the classroom can actually sound like 20 people screaming into a megaphone into their ears. So this might be very heightened, very expansive at this time. So really be aware of that and start thinking, experimenting. That's the Uranus energy in Aquarius. How can you approach this differently? How can you support them in whatever they might be feeling in their body or in their central nervous system as well? We also have a really beautiful conjunction that's coming up on June 11th with Venus exactly conjunct Uranus and also conjunct the North Node. And this could really, depending on where it falls in the birth chart, and if you need help with that, you can check the link below to my website. I actually offer birth chart readings for adults and also for kids. So you can see where this Taurus at 16 degrees falls in your chart and theirs, how it might be highlighting this beautiful Venus and Uranus energy in the North Node. For example, if it falls in your 5th house or your 7th house of relationships, you might have someone new coming into your life or your children's life, new unexpected friendships, relationships coming in. Or if you're in a relationship, or if you happen to be a parent in a relationship with your children, either you or they might be needing some more freedom, some more autonomy in that relationship. So it's, again, like, these are tools to help you kind of navigate like this. Oh yeah, this is why they're wanting more separation from me. And so it just helps you to be aware so you can better meet their needs, even if they're not conscious of them, but you are. And that can make all the difference in the world to negotiate and to compromise, because you have a deeper understanding, like that underlying message. We're not just talking surface stuff. You're having this deeper understanding of under where the soul is. So that's why you can really meet them a little bit better with where they might be wanting to go and maybe wanting to explore. This is very much a time of self-discovery, and how can you help them through that? Also, again, this new moon is June 14th. It's a super full moon. So that means the moon is actually going to be a lot closer to the earth. You will be able to see this. It'll be much brighter in the sky. We will see it with our tides, stronger pull of the tides. This will affect our tectonics as well. So this could be a time of earthquakes. Hopefully not, but again, like, just astrology is very much about probabilities and cycles. So that could be something that we feel. Sensitivity, right? So very sensitive children might be very emotional. This is about Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is wanting truth. Sagittarius is philosophy. It's that bird's eye view perspective. At least that's the higher octave of Sagittarius. It's also about justice, truth, equality. So if you find that your kids are like, that's not fair, and they're really in this like natural law of what is right and what is wrong, that's on the menu for them, okay? So again, like, how can you meet that energy? Lower octave Sagittarius is this very like one size fits all. There's only one truth, there's only one religion, there's only one way of believing. That's that lower octave Sagittarius. And how can you hold the space and teach your kids the higher vantage point that there are many truths that can equally be true and that it's also okay. That there can be, again, like not one size fits all, but many sizes because we're all different. So that's some of that Sagittarius energy that you could be helping with them with. Now, this full moon is actually square to Neptune. So that means we could be shining a light, because that's very much what full moons are. It's about shining a light, illuminating, even a completion as well. But shining a light on things that may not be true, on delusion and illusion. Okay, that's Neptune. So, and it's also not just accepting the status quo of what truth is. This is really coming to the energy of what do you think truth is. So you coming into that, that higher knowing, that higher belief. How can you help navigate your kids through what might be happening? And I would say also it's an invitation for you to listen to them, okay? That maybe they have the higher truth and you're the one thinking that there's only one way of doing something. You know, there's only one way of learning, or you need to go to this one particular high school because that's where the success is, right? So that's what I mean of like, you can help guide your kids, but be very aware that they are equally, and if not more, going to be the guide for you of how you can do a better job as a parent. They are constantly mirrors and constantly reflecting. So be mindful of what's being reflected back to you at this full moon on being a parent and how you can show up for them to be in their truth and who they are. And I also just want to share briefly as well that our kids, okay, they might be turning and looking around at our systems, our educational systems, the structures in place, all that, and saying, you know what? This isn't working for me. This truth that I've been handed down, that you go this path and you go here and you go here and you here, and this is how it works out, they can really be stepping into going, no, I don't think so. This isn't actually true. I'm not buying this. It's not what I'm seeing reflected in my life. And that's very much playing into all this Saturn energy, all this Uranus energy, the North Node. So if you find your kids are bringing this up to your attention, especially around the full moon, really sit with that and really listen. And again, this is where you can start negotiating and compromising together. If that one way isn't working for you or the system isn't working for you, what can we do instead? This energy is very much about co-creation. Let's listen to our kids and how can we better co-create with them at this time. We also have this very rising feminine energy is coming forward. I've been feeling it very strongly for a while, but very strongly this past month, May, and now into June. It's going to be highlighted at this full moon on June 14th. We have Black Moon Lilith, which is at 1 degree of Cancer. Cancer is the emotions, it's the mother, home, safety, safe spaces. Okay, that's Cancer. And this is going to be very strong in a tight T-square to Jupiter, okay, which is expanding whatever it's linked to. So Lilith is this primordial energy, this dark, fierce, feminine energy, uncompromising, raw energy. So, like for adults, and you can check out my other video, this is going to be about the deepest, darkest parts of society that we're coming up to see. But for our kids, I want you to be mindful of how it could be reflecting for them, especially around rights and what is fair and what isn't fair. Be mindful of gender stigmas that might be coming up. They are coming up from the very bit I'm seeing on the news. I don't follow the news because I have to be very mindful of my energy. Like, I get what I need, but I don't go down into the details of it because it doesn't work for me. But yes, this could be very, very strong on the full moon, these gender stigmas. So be mindful of their emotions, right? Are they feeling safe to process these emotions? And if they're not, can you create that space for them and let them feel the rawness, the fierceness of it? Don't encourage them to just sweep it under a rug and to get over it. That's not what the energy we are asking, that is asking us, is. It is shine a light, look at it, feel it, process it. It's not about getting stuck in that energy, but we need to witness it. So, how can you witness for your kids what's uncomfortable? When they're upset and crying, can you just sit there beside them? You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to make it better. You're not trying to solve it. You instead are doing the harder thing to hold that space. Your energy, your full presence with your children, that will be so healing and so helpful. Be the sacred witness for your children. However it is that it's needing to show up, give them that space to feel it. Let them feel safe enough through your presence to feel it. So I know that's a lot of heaviness, okay? It's not easy, but know too, there's a lot of other Kuiper belt objects that are happening in the astrology right now that are really leading us and guiding us into this new future, into this new earth that we're creating. But it's like, we got to get through the muck. We got to shine those lights. We got to do all this deconditioning, getting rid of all these expectations and obligations in this world that aren't working for us and our kids. All right, astrologers, we really skip over the kids a lot, and we forget, and I wouldn't even just say astrologers, I would say our society very often forgets to include our kids, that they are human beings and they are having these experiences beside us. So they're going to be feeling this. They're going to be feeling this world crumbling down, and let's witness them and acknowledge what they're feeling, and also hold space of like, yeah, but we're not going to stop here. There's more that we're building. There's more that we're creating. It's not all dark and gloom, but we do need to go through it to get to this new and amazing, beautiful future. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like, again, to have a birth chart reading done for you or your children, check out my website below in the description. Please be sure as well to like and subscribe. That really helps get this video out there to others, and this message, and really let's decondition and change the structures around parenting, around how we show up in relationship with our kids. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.